Welcome back into the Dynasty lunch break. I'm your host, Garrett Price. We've got a fun show planned for today. Yes, we are going to be getting into the 2025 class. We're going to be looking ahead at some of these prospects, and we're going to do a little mock, not just on my own, not just by myself. I'm going to do it with you guys because I enjoy hanging out with you guys, seeing what you have to say, your thoughts on players, your thoughts on prospects, all of that good stuff. So, without further ado, I would just get into it. I would. But I want to I want to answer some questions first. So, let me know what's on your mind today as far as trades. We can always get to trades. Start sits. We could do some start sits. We can do a lot of different things on today's show. So let me know what you guys are in the mood for. And I'm here to serve. That's why I'm here. That's what I do. We've got Berserk already in here hanging out with us. Ross is already in here hanging out with us. Lots of good stuff. We've got some Thursday night football tonight. Not the not the most exciting Thursday night matchup that we've ever had. The Saints started off the year looking mighty fine. And things have gone downhill a little bit since then. They've lost their starting quarterback. Let me know what you guys think. I actually didn't think Rattler looked too bad. Now, I was talking about it with some other people, and they weren't sold on Rattler. If you listen to the Nerds podcast, that specific person is Rich Johnson. He did not think he looked very good. I disagreed. I thought he looked pretty decent. So what are your thoughts on Spencer Rattler? What's your thoughts on the game tonight? I apologize. Hold on real quickly. Can't get the old throat cleared today. Struggling with that. Yes, Clint, revenge. Yes, this is Sean Payton going back to play his old team. So will be interesting. They are missing their all-world cornerback, Pat Surtain. So that could have a little bit of effect on how good they can be at shutting down the passing game. Andrew said, man, I had training the past few weeks, so it's nice to be finally able to catch a lunch show again. Glad you're back, Andrew. Glad you're back, my man. Ross is a Sooners alum who watched him in college. I have little faith in Rattler. Always had great arm talent, but panics in the pocket when it breaks down. Amos, I like Rattler, but I'm hoping he loses to my Broncos. Of course. Always root for your team. For his first game on short notice, I'd say it was a decent showing. I'm not buying or selling yet. Too much unknown with Carr's health. I think that's fair. Connor asking, Analyzer shows my team is number 1 in contender and in dynasty mode. But unfortunately, 2 and 4. Just severely underperformed so far. At what point do you shift focus from competing and adding a top pick next year? You can start doing that now. If you look at your team and you realistically think like they're just not going to be able to get it done, they're just not, then always feel free to move on. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do a complete rebuild, a complete tear down from the studs. But yeah, I would say if you're able to go in and you're able to move the Mike Evans of the world, the Derrick Henrys of the world, guys that only have a year or two left on your team anyway, get a pick for next year and then just reload and hit the reset button for next year, and you're going to be ready to contend again. I think those are some of my favorites where I'm just moving 2 or 3 pieces. I'm not moving everything, but I'm just moving 2 or 3 pieces to kind of help get myself in a spot where I have some picks again, some assets, and then you're looking pretty good. Yes, Surtain's out with Moss, Amos saying that, but I believe Olave and Shaheed are also, yes. So it will be a very underwhelming Thursday night matchup, more than likely. Andrew, I've been making power rankings in my league every 3 weeks. Put in the chat based on weekly average points. Help show if you've had bad luck or should reload? Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, admittedly, I'm a Rattler fan as a Gamecock alum, but what more could you have wanted out of him on short notice with his number one weapon going down? Yeah, absolutely. Sedated Fork, can we just get rid of Thursday night football? Sedated Fork, I hear you. I do. And I'm torn on this one, to be honest. I think part of it is because we usually don't get the best matchups on Thursday nights, but it's nice having football this early in the week. Like, I like having something to watch. But I personally, like, if I could choose, I would be fine getting rid of Thursday night football if that meant I got a double header every Monday. That's what I really like. I like it when we have 2 games on Monday night. In case one of them's a dud, I can go to the next game. 2 games are good. Have them both on at the same time is really fun. So those are my favorite. When we have the Monday night doubleheaders, that's what I really look forward to. Berserk, or wait, James. I was offered Najee, JSN, Darnold, and a 26 first for Hall. I declined, but what's your thoughts? I would probably decline to. It's not a bad offer, and I would definitely consider it, especially if I thought that pick was going to be early. But my guess, if a team's trying to get Hall, they're a contender, so that means that pick is going to be late. So it probably wouldn't be enough to put it over the top for me. Berserk 10 team, 1 QB, full PPR. Somebody wants Gibbs, and I'm in a soft rebuild. So holding is an option. But I'm thinking 225 first, 1 projected to be early, 1 late, and in Jigba. What do you think? Ooh. It's the right price tag. It's the right price tag. And that late first is not as late as it would be in a 12 teamer. So that's tough. I would probably hold if it's a soft rebuild because I care more about the stars. Although that early first is really tempting, I'm probably going to hold. David Cakes, give us college football matchup instead on Thursday night football. I mean, there are some. There's just not like the big time college matchups. It's usually, MAC schools or what other like the smaller conferences, Sun Belt games and games like that. You're usually not getting Georgia versus Alabama on Thursday night, although that would be very, very fun. James says JSN would crack my starting lineup as I have Garrett Wilson, Cup, Puka, Adams, and Diggs. Now, Lorenzo, it's a nice game because we get to see more tape on these rookies, but that's about it. And I think that's fair. No Monday Night Football doubleheader. Davey, why? I love the Monday Night Football doubleheader. I think they're the best. Howdy, Lorenzo. Clint, I'm taking Gibbs. 10 team is all about the studs. Absolutely. Literally just talked about that on Wednesday's episode of the Dynasty Nerd Show. Brizzleton, what's up? Would you trade any of these receivers for Derrick Henry, Ash Jordan, Debo, or DJ Moore? It looked like there might be more because there was a comma after DJ Moore. I would struggle doing that. If you are a legit contender, and those guys are like your third, fourth, fifth options in your receiving core, then maybe I would consider it. But I would have to be really, really loaded at wide receiver and really need a running back badly in order to make that move. Sedated Fork, 12-team Superflex, rebuilding. I traded away Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy for Marvin Harrison in an early 25 first. I'm fully prepared to lose the trade, but it felt like I had to gamble for more pieces. Ooh, that's a tough one. It's hard because I've been a big Tyrone Tracy guy, and I've been preaching him. But getting that first, and it's early, I think makes it worth it because now you're looking at Genty, the top quarterback, Tet McMillan. Like you're looking at some good pieces. So I get it, and I think I would be willing to do that. Danka, do you view Ben Sinnott or Sinnott, if you're nasty, as a hold right now, or are you concerned he hasn't even seen a target through 7 weeks? I don't love it. I would be more concerned though if the current starting tight end wasn't ancient. That would concern me more. But with how old Zach Ertz is, I'm not gonna panic too much yet. Josh, my guy Josh, always around, always hanging out. How's it going, buddy? Wesley, Brian Thomas Jr. or Garrett Wilson post trade. We actually talk about this exact scenario in yesterday's episode. I would prefer Garrett Wilson even post trade. I think the Brian Thomas Jr. hype has gotten a little out of control for me personally. Clint, start 2 PPR Higgins versus Cleveland, Zay Flowers versus Tampa Bay, Devontae Adams versus the Steelers. Not sure if I want to start Adams straight off a trade to the Jets. I think this one's pretty clearly Zay Flowers for me as a for sure start. And then you're right. First game back, especially against the Steelers. So it's probably Higgins and Flowers for me. Ross, debating what to do with Ayuk in a full rebuild. Age 26 feels borderline. Should I just hold him? What price do you think should cause me to sell? If somebody's willing to give me like a mid first and a mid second, that would be the price I'd probably be willing to sell. Any less than that, I'm probably not doing it. Jordan, I have Brian Thomas Jr. and Breece Hall. I keep forgetting to put these up here. Got to do better. Whoops, that's not even the right one. I have Bijan and Breece at wide receiver. Or at wide receiver, I have AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Brian Thomas Jr. and T as well. 3 and 3 right now. I get it. I've had teams that are only 1 win, and I thought they were going to be a top 2 team. So sometimes you just get weird things like that. Weird things. The League FFB, what's up, Garrett? Keep up the great work. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We still need to do another video together sometime. I'm down. Let me know. I'm curious. With A-Rich looking sketchy for Marvin, Michael Pittman Jr.'s outlook, what are we doing with him? If you can sell him off of what he did his last 3 games, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I'm holding. I do think the fear and trepidation around Anthony Richardson has gone a little bit too far. We saw him look really good the first 3 games last year. He's looked rough the first 3 games this year. So I'm not panicking too much just yet. But if you can get him for the same value that you would have got preseason or what you've been getting with Joe Flacco, then I'm absolutely willing to sell. Otherwise, I think you're just selling too low. Michael, what's up? Value check on a 12-team PPR. Tyler Algier manager wants an early to mid 25 second for him. Seems like an overpay, and it's much more than 2/3 that I offered. What do you think? I think a late 25 is probably the earliest I'd be willing to go. Because the hard part is, like, has he been more involved than I expected him to be? Absolutely. But he still isn't going to get a ton of receiving work. And so you're basically banking on a touchdown. Because otherwise it's going to be a lot of 9 attempts for 54 yards type games, which is fine. But if he's not, catching any passes or he doesn't get in the end zone, it doesn't really help you much. So he's really more just a really high end handcuff to Bijan, more so than anything else at this point. Jason, an 8 keeper, 12 team half point super flex. I move Brian Robinson and Levis for Tua and Ladd a month ago. How does that look now? Beautiful. Brian Robinson's fine, but Tua's clearly the better quarterback, even with the risk. And Ladd could be, he could be a great receiver. So I think that's a fantastic move. Well done. Mr. Banks a lot's here. What's up, buddy? Adam Wayne, trade Amari for Pollard if I'm loaded at wide receiver. Absolutely. I think that's a great, like, need-based trade. Danka, top 3 team in my league with extra capital, decided to buy Rice in the third for a late 25 first and late second. Do you subscribe going all in when winning in a window or expanding your window when able? I have no problem with that. Rice is one of those rare guys that I'm willing to buy in any situation. So I think that's a good move. FJO Sports Card. If Jonathan Taylor is healthy this week, should I start him in the flex or keep JK versus Arizona? I really like JK versus Arizona this week. Jonathan Taylor could have a really big game, but JK is just too good. No real risk. So I'm keeping him. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. Danka, let's get some likes in this video. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get some likes in here. That's what I'm talking about. Make sure you guys are all subscribed, obviously. Anytime you can go in and watch other videos, like other videos, like all of that stuff. Doesn't seem like much, but man, does it really help the algorithms. Like, it's nice stuff. Davey Cakes, thoughts on Drake May and Dynasty? What's his ceiling? What would you sell for right now? I've been on the Drake May bandwagon. I've been the highest on him in our leagues and on the podcast. His ceiling is, he has a top 6 ceiling. He does. He's got the arm talent. He's a good athlete. But that ceiling, it's going to take a couple years for that to be realized because they're going to need to get other pieces around him on that team. Really, the only piece in the receiving core that I legitimately like is Demario Douglas. So it's going to take a while. They had a Ted McMillan. They had a Travis Hunter. They had a Luther Burden, somebody like that. All of a sudden, things are looking a little bit better. If I were to sell him, I'd want 2 firsts. I don't think anybody's giving you 2 firsts right now, but I would want that to sell him. Is there a 25 prospect that you and the nerds have a real disagreement about? Not yet, just because Rich and Matt don't really watch a lot of tape until we get into like February. So that's when they start really digging into the tape. So there will be. We do every year, but we don't have any of those just yet. Michael Fox is saying start 2 this week. Henry, Mixon, Jacob, Achane. Ooh. Let me pull up my weekly rankings because I have decent rankings on all of those guys. Pull it up here. Sorry, it's loading. Okay. So for me, Derrick Henry, at this point, he's been so good, you just kind of have to start him no matter what. As much as I like Achane, and he could have a big game until Tua comes back, he's really risky for me. So it really comes down to Josh Jacobs versus Houston or Joe Mixon versus Green Bay. I like what they're doing with Joe Mixon. The first game back, they gave him a lot of work. They didn't have any hesitation. So for me, it would be Mixon and Henry this week. Jeremy, 6-0 contending team, need depth to keep winning. Trade Marvin Harrison Jr. for Amari Cooper, Goddard, Brian Thomas Jr., and Rashad White. Tight end premium, PPR 12 team, no one whatsoever on waivers, so no picks till 26. I'm fine with the concept of this deal. Trying to get depth, trading a player that somebody's going to really like. So the concept, I'm all in for. That said, this particular deal I don't love. Goddard is a very inconsistent tight end. Cooper, I like him. I think he would be a good part of a deal. Rashad White is losing his job. So for me, the concept of the trade, yes. The specific trade, I don't think I would. Zach, stock up for 25 picks or get ahead for 26. Both of the next two classes look really good. 27 has some ridiculous receivers. 26 right now, they have Nico, and I'm going to mess up his last name, but the kid from Tennessee. Then they also obviously have Arch Manning in that class. So that class is looking pretty dang good right now. So it's all about the price. If you can get 25 picks for a decent price right now, go ahead and get them. But that being said, you can probably get 26 crazy cheap. And if you're willing to wait that long, I'm fine with it. It's just hard to wait that long. Appreciate the love, FJO, man. John, 10-team PPR. Would you add anything to Andrews to get Njoku? Don't know if I'm jumping ship prematurely. I would not add anything. Njoku's in a much messier situation than Andrews. I get that he's been getting a little bit more targets, but yeah, I'm not adding anything. In fact, I might still rather Andrews straight up, honestly. James, any thoughts on Demario Douglas? Seems to be heating up with May. If you watched any of my offseason stuff, he was the deep dive, diamond in the rough guy that I kept bringing his name up. And obviously early on didn't do much. But he has a great connection with May. And on a team where there is no established players at the receiver position, he has been getting all of the looks, all of the targets, and he's been doing a little bit with them. So for me, Demario Douglas has skyrocketed up my rankings. I think he's an awesome, awesome addition. Josh says, I'm a 5-1 team, or sorry, 1-5 team, 12-team Superflex League. Knowing Rice still has a possible suspension coming, would you trade Dobbins straight up for Rice? I would. I love Dobbins, but I would take Rice there. I think he's still, for me, I still have him as a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Even with the injury, even with the possible suspension, he is still a wide receiver 1 for me. All right. I'm going to pause answering questions just for a second. I'm going to get back to it. I promise. I'm not stopping that. But here's what I need you guys to do. I'm going to share my screen because I said we are going to do a 2025. Oops, that's not it. We're going to do a 2025 mock draft. So it's too early. They don't even have the names anywhere. They don't even have the names anywhere yet. But I put together a handy dandy little sheet here. Handy dandy little sheet. And here's what I want. I'm going to post the link for this. Now, don't do anything. Okay? Don't hear me right now. Don't do anything. I'm just going to find out who wants in and who doesn't. So don't do anything yet. I will give you guys in fact, maybe no, I'll do editor. I'll let you guys be editors. Just don't do anything yet. Okay? Here we go. Paste. Okay. So, what I need now before I paste this, comment below if you want in. Comment below if you want in. Got 12 teams. I'm going to take one of them, obviously. So we'll say, actually, you know what? If we have 12 people that want to do it, I won't even. We'll see how many people want to be in. I know this is early for some people. All right. Davy Cakes wants in. All right. I'm just going to go down the line as I see him. All right. So Davy Cakes. We've got Gabe. Gabe, you're in. We've got Lorenzo. We've got Amos. Clint. Ross. So Dave Fork says, I don't know anything about these players yet, so I'm not in. That's fine. That's totally fine. All right. Dan wants in. I'll go ahead and take a team because we've still got plenty of spots. So I'll take this one here. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here. I'm going to allow people in. So don't edit anything yet. Don't edit anything yet. But if you're one of those people that set in, you can go ahead and enter in to the Google Sheet here. And I'll let you know when each team can go, make their pick. Then we'll have time to talk about it and so on and so forth. So it's too early to even have any of these players in a mock draft or anything like that on a site, but we created our own. Andrew said, I would rather just see the results. That's okay. Not a problem. If we don't get 12, because I know it's early for some people, I'll just crowdsource maybe the next few picks. I'll help decide. And you don't have to necessarily use the names that I have over here. Okay. I have listed a lot of names over here, not necessarily an exact order, but a general order that a lot of people feel. I feel differently about some of the players where they're at, but a general-ish order of where things would go. But I like doing these kind of early because I like the opportunity to be able to kind of figure out where this class is at overall. So with that, if anybody else wants to hop in, take the last couple spots, go ahead and just type your name into team 9, team 10. If you don't have a team yet, that's fine. But I gave everyone that said that they wanted in so far, I gave them all a spot. So go ahead, Davy Cakes. You get the first pick. We're going to do 2 rounds. So Davy Cakes gets the first overall pick. This is Superflex tight end premium. Superflex tight end premium. And this is a Mr. Bakes a lot. This is a way too early 25 rookie mock draft. All right, so we've got a few more people in here. So Ashton Genty went first. Not a surprise. This kid already 6 games has over 1,200 yards. That means he's averaging over 200 yards a game. 16 touchdowns, bonkers. Gabe, go ahead. You can go with yours, and Lorenzo as well. You guys can do yours. But all of that being said, even with this being super flex, I anticipate him being the number 1 overall pick. I would be very surprised if there's a quarterback that elevates so much that even in super flex, they would go above Genty right now. He just looks that much different. Gabe goes with Tet McMillan. If you're not familiar with Tet McMillan, dude's an absolute freak. We're talking 6'6" wide receiver out of Arizona. Your true X in the most truest form of an X. But the kid is super fluid. Like, it's not like he's stiff and can't make people miss, slow feet. Like, no. And you guys go ahead, Amos, Clint, Ross, you guys go ahead with your picks as well. Next one up, we've got Luther Burden. Luther Burden's fallen down a little bit, but I would probably still expect him to be a top 5 pick in drafts next year. He was the number 1 overall kid in his class at the wide receiver position. He's had some big games for Missouri. This season's been a little underwhelming, but the raw talent and the abilities there. He's one of those guys in that Deebo Samuel type mold. So he's going to be a perfect fit for how the NFL is playing right now. So 3 picks through 4 picks now. We still do not have a quarterback that has gone. Amos going Nick Singleton. So after the first running back in this class, it is quite a bit up in the air right now. You know, in the past, we've had a little more clarity on who running back 2 is. You have like 8 or 9 different guys that people will tell you is running back 2. Nick Singleton's one of them. He's been around for a while. He was the number 1 running back in his class coming out. And he's fallen off a little bit as far as the what's the best way to put it? The hype that he had as a true freshman, but still looks really good. Really solid player. Next, we have Quinn Ewers. Next two guys went ahead and took quarterbacks. Dan, go ahead and make your pick whenever you're ready, my guy. Quinn Ewers, last year, watching his tape was rough. But this kid has really improved this year. He's improved it's not often that you lose a first and a second round wide receiver and you look better. So you can tell he's put in the time, he's put in the work. His decision making, his accuracy looks so much better than it did the season before. So I'm really impressed with this kid, and I would not blame anyone for taking him as the top guy at the quarterback position. Shedeur Sanders, next guy off the board. Shedeur, we've known about him for a while. Deion's son. He's 6'1", so not the biggest guy, but he's got enough size. And he's a good athlete, but not this like crazy mobile run all over the place athlete that you would think of being Deion's son. Like, he's a true pocket passer that can create and do other things, but he wins with his arm. So I think that's a good pick. And Cam Ward, I thought for sure Cam Ward was going to fall to me. I think he's going to end up being the first quarterback off the board. He is really impressive. I like a lot of what I've seen out of this kid. And for somebody that transferred, this is a second transfer. Like, in the past, that's always like a red flag. Not anymore. Kids are transferring all the time. And in Miami, he seems really comfortable, and he's been making some big plays. So that puts me up. At 9 or at 8. If anybody wants to take team 9 or 12, the link's there. You guys are still more than welcome to hop in here. There's a few options for me. At this point, Carson Beck's interesting. I could consider him. I'm a big Omarion Hampton fan, so I'm considering him. Travis Hunter is probably going to be the number one, if not lock for top 5 pick. The only question is, will he end up being the full-time wide receiver that we want him to be or not? Is it going to be full-time corner, part-time receiver, full-time receiver, part-time corner, full-time both? Just picks one. We don't fully know yet. That's what makes him tricky. But I'm actually, a couple of you guys have asked, I'm taking Colston Loveland here. With this being tight end premium, I really like the tape that I've seen from this kid. And this might be a tad early, but we're seeing young tight ends in the past 2 years, Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta, be able to come in right away and make things happen. So I have no doubt that, assuming he goes first round, which I think he's a lock to, that he'll be able to make an impact. Go ahead and put, I don't know who put him there, but Travis Hunter would probably be the next logical choice to go in this draft, either him or Carson Beck, more than likely. So we can put Travis Hunter there at pick 9. Then we have MXSVN here. Goes with Jalen Milroe. Milroe's one of the biggest wild cards in this class. He could end up being a top 10 pick. He could end up being somebody that doesn't go until round 3. Crazy athlete. But it's the consistency with his arm that's the question mark right now. Plays at a big-time program like Alabama, so that obviously is a good thing for him. But we've seen him disappear a little bit at times. So that's going to be the big question mark. Now, the last of the quarterbacks that I expected to go in the first round went. We could do Ollie Garden. I think he's falling down boards, but we can put him there. He's been pretty rough this year. He's only been averaging 3.8 yards per carry. 3.8 yards per carry in college is pretty bad. But I know a lot of people still like him. I haven't got to watch a ton of tape. This is tight end premium, yes. I haven't got to watch a ton of tape on him, but the little bit that I have, I've been underwhelmed compared to all of the awards and accolades and things like that. Um, so, uh, at what point in this draft do you seriously consider trading down if it fell this way? That's a good question because honestly, Ashton Genty's kind of in a tier of his own right now, and it's close to the point where Tet McMillan is becoming a tier of his own. And then like Burden through most of the rest of the round is pretty even. So that's where I would probably consider right around pick 3 is where I would potentially look at trading down. My thoughts on Bo Nix. Think he will be elite with training experience and a better Broncos team in the future. I'm the wrong guy for this. I'm not a big fan. And we can widen these columns here, fit the names in. There we go. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I don't think he has the arm strength to really be able to get it done at the next level. So, and he's so old by comparison that I don't know that you're going to be able to give him the time to develop that you would maybe other quarterbacks. And so for me, I'm not the highest on this guy. There were a couple trades or a couple things up higher that I did not get to. So let me try to touch on these real quick. Let's see. Is Zamir White the biggest disappointment this year? I don't know if he's the biggest, but he's up there. Travis Etienne, Rashad White, both pretty big disappointments. Then basically the entire Miami offense after losing to a pretty big disappointments as well. Should I sell Rashad White and Ramondre for Anthony Richardson? Absolutely. Absolutely. Lorenzo, need a second quarterback this week. Spencer Rattler or Russell Wilson? I'll go Russ with Rattler not having any receivers, but I don't love it. Clint, you are up. Clint and Ross, you guys can both go ahead and go. So second round so far, Quinshad Judkins, Travion Henderson, both go there in the early part of the second round. And if that's how drafts shape up, like that's the appeal of this class is like guys that could easily go pick 4 or 5 going in picks 2, 1, 2, 2. That's really the appeal outside of Ashton Genty just being otherworldly. So definitely an exciting class. Isaiah Bond, Mecca Buka. Once again, we've got 2 wide receivers that are probably going to be day 1 guys. If not, they're going to be early day 2. So you've got receivers kind of pushed down because we do now have a lot of quarterbacks. We do have a lot of running backs in this class. So it pushes down guys like that. And anytime you can get around 1 receiver in round 2, it's a good value. MXSVN, I can see Emeka being the wide receiver 3 in this class behind Tet and Burden. I could see that as a possibility. Thoughts on James Cook with Davis's big game? Yeah, I do think that is going to be a little more committee-ish than we want it to be. So they want somebody between the tackles. They've needed somebody between the tackles for a long time and have not had it. Oster BS, should I sell Cooper Kupp and the 109 to 112 pick for DJ Moore? I would rather just hold. Because Coop I'm assuming this is a contender move. And if that's the case, I would rather just use Kupp for the rest of the season, who's going to give you similar, if not maybe even better production than DJ Moore. And then let's go ahead and go for taking a pick there or using it on somebody else. So I would rather not. All right. Devin Neal goes next. A good, solid running back out of Kansas. Trey Harris, big play wide receiver from Ole Miss catching darts from Jackson Dart. Then we've got Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State. Penn State does a good job of developing and putting out good tight ends, so he's definitely a really interesting one. Is this guy not gone? Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. I love you guys so much. Bam. If this scenario happened to me, I was legitimately considering taking Omarion Hampton a full round to go. A full round. So I am thrilled to see him here. He's the RB2 in the class for me. Yeah, we can put Evan Stewart there. I think that's a good pick. Then let's Benjamin. Benjamin says, as a team that's currently 4-2 battling injuries and depth issues, currently 6th in points for, what would you pay for Ayuk, Mixon, and either Stafford or Carr? The other guy wants my first, Addison, and Wright. I would make that deal all day and twice on Sunday if I think I'm a legit contender. Ayuk, Mixon, and Stafford, or 26 first, Addison and Wright. Addison and Wright are both fun upside players, but nobody that I'm overly excited about. More so Wright, I am excited, but we'll see. So I think that's a great move. Evan Stewart goes next. That was somebody else that I thought I was going to end up taking here. But with Hampton falling to me, I had to go that route. But Evan Stewart, transfer from A&M, went to Oregon, looked pretty good this past week. I'm not a big Dart guy. I would probably not put Dart there personally. I think Nussmeier is gonna end up being. So if we're gonna put a quarterback, I'd much rather put Nussmeier there than Jackson Dart. MXSVN, he goes off the board. I like it. Goes off the board here. Takes Jaquindon Jackson. He's the running back out of Arkansas. He's been doing some good things this year. I have not watched any tape to be able to say if I genuinely like him or not. But the little bit of like highlights and things like that, he does look like a really, really intriguing prospect. So Nussmeier then goes with pick 11 in the second round. Last but not least, let's probably go with, we could put Xavier Restrepo in there, wide receiver, slot guy out of Miami. Been doing some really good things with Cam Ward. So this gives you kind of a little bit of an idea of what we're looking at in this class, which I think is always a really, really helpful exercise to do just kind of ahead of time. If you're wanting some running backs, look, you're getting some really good ones even into the second round. So if that's the case, this is the draft for you. This is the draft for you. But it also pushes down some good receivers late. Guys like Evan Stewart could even still be a first-round pick. Abuka, Bond, I think, are likely to be first-round picks. So overall, fun exercise. Thanks for doing this with me, guys. And that wraps up another Dynasty lunch break. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Always have such a good time hanging out with you. The comments, the questions, the just everything. Caleb Johnson, yeah, I do like Caleb Johnson as well. I'm surprised I didn't put him in here, but out of Iowa, I think he's going to be a day 2 guy. But appreciate you guys. Best of week. Good luck to all of your fantasy teams. And we'll be back here next Thursday and every Thursday at noon Eastern time for Dynasty Lunch Break.